Well, this is something I'm extremely excited for. And as you saw yesterday's video where we saw that Capcom has said that the original Resident Evil games 1, 2 and Nemesis, that those games are inferior to the remakes that they've done over the last couple of years. Don't get me wrong, I love the remakes, I think they're great, but the OG ones are what got the majority of people into horror video gaming. And seeing that now they want to remake Resident Evil 0, I'm happy with that. As long as they don't do what they did to Resident Evil 3, and that is literally just butcher it and get rid of half the plot, you know? For Resident Evil 0, obviously you do play as Billy and Rebecca Chambers, and well, it was interesting because you could swap between characters if you wanted to solve puzzles and use their unique abilities for them. But with this though, this is the part I'm actually interested in. Get ready for new storylines and voice actors. Well, the voice actors we know, but new storylines? So Resident Evil Remake's bringing in a lot of money and attention from fans both old and new. It's not surprising that Capcom is reportedly working on the new reimagining. According to MP First sources, the company has been developing a Resident Evil 0 remake now for several years. That's interesting, because obviously Resident Evil 2 was the one that made everyone go, oh my god, this remake is amazing, you know? And again, with the old games, you never had the single camera angle where it's stuck in one corner, low, high, whatever, and it was over the shoulder, which when they did that for Resident Evil 4, I thought that was amazing. I really did, because even though I love the originals, I do wish that you could have changed the camera angles to be a bit more like, you know, third person over the shoulder, which is what they went with. And seeing now that they want to do Resident Evil 0, is that going to be the same? You know, you're going to be able to switch characters? Well, let's have a little look-see. So the game is being worked on under the codename Chamber, obviously Rebecca Chambers, and will feature new voice actors and performance capture. One of the actors is John McLaren, as we can see in his resume, who played Star-Lord in a game adaptation of Guardians of the Galaxy, which I love that game, and had several roles in Far Cry 5. His page says that he has a lead role in Project Chamber, so we'll probably see him as Billy Cohen. The production is overseen by the motion capture company Beyond Capture Studios, which has previously worked with Capcom. So this is what we got by here, where MP First has reported that the remake would expand upon the source material, although the main plot would stay the same. Well, to be honest with you, that's really good. I do like that. And if they're going to make this game be longer than what the original was, I'm happy for that too. That was one of the big things that pissed a lot of us off with Resident Evil 3 Remake. Because obviously when you get rid of half of the story and you try to streamline it, it doesn't really go well. You know, a lot of people who played the original Resident Evil Nemesis, story-wise, it's like, why would you cut this out? Why would you get rid of this entire thing regarding Nemesis and just be like, oh yeah, straightforward action shooter? I do think Resident Evil 2 had the balance right, you know, with horror and with action. But with number 3, they just decided to go with, yeah, we'll just go straight horror action. You know, little horror, more action, which kind of pissed us off. But with this one, so MP First is saying that one of these new storylines would involve the initial segment of the game set on the train. Okay, specifically concerning the train conductor. In the original game, this character is never seen and is only referenced via his office on the train. But in the remake, he will take on a slightly larger role. I'm all for that. 1000%. You only really heard background chatter and stuff, and it's like, oh, yeah, he's in his office, so he's gonna drive us here or whatever. But if he's gonna have a slightly larger role, are we gonna have him coming out a bit like how Carlos was in Resident Evil 3? I think that would be a lot better if he could come out, interact with us, and again, if they're gonna expand it, this is one of the things you do. You see little but unheard of characters in the old ones. Bring them to the front and be like, right, we're going to give you a bigger role, which is what they seem to be doing. So as I said, you can find slightly more information on MP First's site if you want a hint of a spoiler, which we're not going to do. But again, no, you do have Dusk Golem saying that Capcom will release a remake of Code Veronica in Q1 2027, and the Resident Evil 0 remake aims for 2028. Yeah, so obviously February next year we have Resident Evil Requiem, which I am absolutely buzzing for. I think we will see some sort of demo for that in the next month or so, because at TwitchCon this weekend gone, they actually had the playable demo there, which you can find on YouTube at the moment. But this is what Dusk Golem is saying. So keep in mind that the further out in time we get, the least certain things are. But as of this moment, their broad goal is Resident Evil 9 February 2026, Code Veronica Remake Q1 2027, 0 Remake 2028, and then Resident Evil 10 won't be called that in 2029 if all goes well in development. So it seems like we're going to be getting a Resident Evil game now for the next year, supposedly for the next 5 years, which I'm all for. You know, I absolutely love this series. It got me into horror gaming. It got me into the love of horror just in general. And seeing that they are taking the older games and remaking them, just take my money. As long as it's not like Resi 3. I keep saying that because I don't know why they butchered it. I really don't. It just doesn't make sense. You know, you can have a lot more fun playing the original, which is a little bit shorter, obviously, just because of the way it was back then. But I believe Resident Evil 3 back then in the late 90s, it was something like 4 or 5 gig, if that, on the disc, which is absolutely insane. But let us know down below, folks. Are you happy that they are remaking Code Veronica and Resident Evil 0? I'm all up for it. Like I said, folks, give us your opinions and thoughts down below. As usual, folks, my name is Dan. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video.